Okay, cool. So I'm back. Um, yeah, so I do quite a bit of these one-on-one coaching calls, and can you hear me? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I can hear you. Yep.
Yeah. So I do quite a few of these one-on-one coaching calls with the IV industry partners, and I've realized that a lot of the conversations I'm having are the same conversation, and so I've gotten into the habit
Yeah.
of starting to record them, and I think I'm going to compile them and start releasing snippets from the conversation. So yeah, thanks for agreeing to participate.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so you booked the call with me. How are things with business?
They're good. They're picking up a little bit. Last month was really slow, so I know April's a pretty good month for me at least since I've been doing it. Last year it was my biggest month because of tax season, so I'm hoping we'll get up there the same as last year. It's picking up, that's for sure. So which is good. So I sold one yesterday and then two the day before. So it's starting to pick up a little bit.
Okay, perfect. And what do you know what your 30-day revenue numbers are?
If I'd want to say last month, I think it was like 7,000.
Hmm.
I'm positive around there.
Is that and that's revenue, not profit, right?
Yes, that's revenue, not profit. No.
Got it. And um, what about the month prior?
February was, I'd want to say, almost 9,000 revenue. Profit was around 554.
Hmm. Okay, got it. So definitely a little bit of a decline. And Brandon, the last time we talked, you had mentioned that you're moving into a 1,500 square foot warehouse from your 600 square foot. Did that end up happening?
No, I ended up backing out just because two reasons. Um, I was trying to get like a family loan just to kind of help me in case if something happened with all the lease and stuff. And my grandpa, who used to run businesses all the time, I told him everything. He thought about it. And he just told me he doesn't think it's the right time for me. He didn't want to loan me the money, which was totally fine. But just hearing that from him, I think he wants me to stay where I'm at. He told me I can always just get another unit. But he said just having that overhead of the lease, he doesn't think it's the right time. And I really thought about it, and I just decided not to do it. So I'm still gonna stay at the 650 square foot, but I'm most likely gonna be getting another one.
Yeah. Well,
So
that's really important feedback, and it's good that you have people around you that are experienced in business that, you know, it's not just about the money. They, want you to do well. And,
exactly, yeah.
maybe there's something there to his gut feeling, understanding you, understanding your situation for him to advise you in that way. But what do you think it came down to?
It really came down to just not having. I would have been more confident, obviously, if I had the funds for it. Like, I was able to pay for it, but, like, just if something happened and I'm stuck in that lease for a year, so, like, I need some extra money just in case if I wasn't able to pay 1 month or something. That was really, like, I was like, okay, I don't really want to go through a bank. No business banks would take me because I haven't been a legal business for over 2 years. So none of them would do it. So it was either a personal loan or a family member would help me. I didn't really want to take out a personal loan because I also have this car loan, so I didn't really want to do both. Um, that was like the main factor, but especially after him telling me that, I just really thought about it for a day, and I was like, after that, I had a gut feeling not to do it. So I was like, okay, and I just told him, look, I'm sorry, I'm unable to do it. He said that was fine. Um, so I'm gonna stay where I'm at right now.
Interesting. So, do you think part of it was the fact that you felt like the fact that you may be unable to sustain the investment on your own terms and that you would need a cushion potentially? And he's saying, like, no, you need to get to a point where the business is cash flowing sufficiently such that you feel confident about making this kind of investment. And if he offers you a cushion, that can actually end up hurting you in the long run.
Yeah, yeah,
I see. And I think that makes sense. So I guess what was the additional expense that you're looking to take on? Because from what I remember in our last conversation, you're still living at home, and so your expenses are quite low, like in terms of personal living expenses. And so, when it comes to how much money you need to make from the business, a lot of that just comes down to what the fixed business costs are.
So you're asking me what the big business costs are now? Is what you're asking me pretty much?
So, from the standpoint of your business and also your personal life, how much money do you have to make so that you're solvent each month and you're, hopefully making money?
Um, want to say I want to say minimum 2,000, maybe 25. This is kind of off the top of my head. That's with personal and business. So if I did do the warehouse, it was pretty much double. I did it all. I did all the math for everything I paid for a month. It was about almost 5 grand if I did do the unit. So it's about cut in half. So it's around 25, I would say.
Got it. So, in the status quo, your personal and business expenses 2,500 bucks a month. So that's a minimum, that you need to make
Yes.
in order to be solvent. Can you break that down for me? Like, what is personal and what is business?
So so personal, I have the vehicle under personal, which is 550 a month. I usually pay a little more because I want to pay it off quicker. So I usually pay probably 700 to 800 a month. Um, I have, I'd say about groceries run me about $200 to $300 a month. Some small stuff, but business it's about 706 for the warehouse for the storage unit. 120 for my trailer lot. Um, I would say there's one more big, and then the $300 Ivy flip as well, and then there was like one more monthly thing that I paid for the business. And then gas runs me about $400 a month. Um, it's mainly business, but there's some smaller personals. And then obviously I give myself like a $200 to $300 like extra every month. So if I needed food or just extra gas or like maintenance on my car or whatever. So
Got it. Got it. And then obviously you need money for inventory as well. So that doesn't include the cost of goods for buying
yeah, that
couches
doesn't
and stuff.
include. Nope, that does not include the cost of goods.
Hmm. So on a monthly basis, what are you walking away with net of all expenses and cost of goods? Do you know? Like, are you putting money away and are you able to save?
Um, honestly, like recently, no. Like last month, I think I walked away with 1,000 profit. I actually lost money last month. That was just profit overall, but just myself away with anything last month. The month before, in February, I walked away with probably a grand. I made 5K profit, which is great, but I also owed about 4,000 to the IRS, so that kind of
Yeah.
that good, which is good. But
Right.
so recently, I would say honestly, probably the last biggest time where I really was able to save money on my end was probably when the convention was.
Interesting.
It's been
Okay.
which is kind of bringing me down a bit because I'm like, okay, I'm making money, which is great. Like it's not all about the money, but at the same time, I'm working pretty hard. I want to at least see my bank account growing personally, but I'm seeing it like depreciate instead. You know.
Absolutely.
Um. So yeah.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I mean, look, there is a benefit in that you're able to at least support your lifestyle, sustain your lifestyle,
Oh, of course.
and
Yeah.
and do it on your own terms. And a lot of people don't get that freedom. But of course, as a business owner, the whole point is to get ahead, build some
Yeah.
build a business and build some equity for yourself, and try to stack up cash, increase those savings. That's a very reasonable
Exactly.
goal. One quick deviation. It seems like you're using your vehicle commercially and you have an LLC, and yet you're sort of counting it under your personal expenses. So how do you rationalize that? And are you at least deducting the use of your personal vehicle when it comes to filing taxes?
So with taxes. Give me 1 second. Okay. Can you hear me? Can
Yes,
you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Hey, can you hear me? It's not. And I cannot. Hang on. You're muted.
No, I can. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
It dropped again.
Man, it is in and out.
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
There we go. Now I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we're talking about the use of the vehicle and whether or not you're deducting it as an expense.
Yes. So I do. So when I purchased the vehicle, I didn't have an LLC, so I couldn't even prove my income to that. So I bought the vehicle under myself, obviously. But when I wrote it off, I put all the miles. I think I wrote off 25,000 miles. I believe
Mm-hmm.
20,000 around there.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote off miles. I wrote off some like most of the mechanic stuff that's done to it. I write it off. But the vehicle itself is not. It's under personal, but I do write off a good chunk of it for tax reasons. Yes.
I see. And you definitely want to check with your accountant on this, but I think you can write off the car payment as well if it's
Okay.
primarily for commercial use. Yeah, so that could be a huge deduction for you. And if you are
Okay.
paying taxes, you're going to want to look for any way to maximize the deduction, so you're paying the IRS less.
Yeah.
But okay, but look, deductions and having it's important, and tracking sales important. Are you using the sales tracker, or how are you recording things?
So I've been doing my own on the side. I've been starting to use the sales tracker. I don't have my computer on me, I think, so I can't really show you. I put everything for as of this month, as of now, my expenses and profit, and mine says that I think I'm positive 500 and something bucks, which is right because I calculated it all. But on the Ivy flip for this month of April and even the week, it says like I'm negative, and it says I'm like negative 19% margin. It says everything's negative. I've made zero money, and my expenses are only like 200 bucks when they were like already 1,000. And I was just like, it's just not adding up on the sales tracker. I was trying to figure it out last night.
Hmm.
But I have everything on there. Like I said, if I had my computer, I'd show you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, let me look into that. Here, let me just create a note to remind myself to look at your sales tracker. It could be how the math is being done, or it could be some discrepancy between like the manual log that you have and what we're doing in the sales tracker.
Okay.
But that requires a little bit further investigation. One thing to note is that we have integrated the databases between the mobile app and the web app. So basically, you can log all of your sales and expenses in the mobile app, and it will
Okay.
appear for you on the web app as well. So
Okay.
those two are the
Got
same
it.
thing now. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I just made a note so I don't forget. Anyhow, so tracking sales really important. Knowing your numbers offhand, quickly at a glance, and just having something that's keeping track of it and computing all of the relevant metrics for you. Really, really important as we dig in to figure out what are the opportunities to grow. And typically, when I do these sessions, I like to actually have the numbers in front of us so that we can kind of scan through, see if there are any anomalies. One of the advantages that I have, not being a flipper, but talking to many, many flippers, is that I have a pretty good sense of what an average flipping business looks like at the different stages. And
Yeah.
so based on your numbers, I can see if anything looks anomalous and quickly point out to you what an opportunity to improve might be. So that's something we can do in the follow-up. But for now, let's just try talking through what you think the main challenges you've been facing are, and then we can go from there.
Okay. So I would say my main challenge, and I've definitely seen it because I'm in two different couch flipping groups. I've definitely seen it in one of them. They mentioned it as well. The algorithm on Facebook, and I know to post on way more than Facebook, which I do, but Facebook is just like not what it used to be. I mean, my main account that I've used, and I have over 100 reviews, and I've always done it on that account. I would post couches and relist them, and I'd get lucky if I got 10 clicks, even when I boosted. So then I switched it over to my girlfriend's account, and then I made another account, which they're doing pretty good. The one I think I posted like 3 days ago started, and it has almost 800 clicks a week, and it hasn't even been a week, so that's good. Those listings are averaging around 200 clicks a post, which is good. But it's mainly just the algorithm, especially like even on OfferUp. Like I post on OfferUp, Facebook, Craigslist, and the Ivy Flip Store. Like Craigslist, I've gotten no one. I posted. I probably have posted over 30 listings so far, and then
Mhm.
OfferUp, I post about the same. Almost every time I post on there. I finally got one sale on OfferUp, but it's the same. I don't really get a lot of sales, so it's just the views and kind of showing my business out or like what I'm selling is what's really like hurting.
Mhm. Your top of funnel, just your ability to get in front of a relevant audience of interested buyers is suffering in the recent month.
Yes, and I personally think that my original account was shadow banned. I don't know why. I have no clue why, but like I said, I'd post. I'd get some of them will have zero in 2 days. They have nothing. So it's just it's kind of frustrating because when I first started out, I would get like thousands of clicks. I don't even remember the last time I had over 500 clicks on a listing. Even when I boosted it too. I boosted it one time. I got maybe 70. So so that's just like that's the main. I would say that's like the number one thing that's kind of hurting. So
Mhm. So one thing that's curious to me is that the issue with the listing started recently, but you said earlier that you haven't really had a month with a substantial amount of profit since November.
mhm.
So why do you think like sales have been on the decline since November?
Well, originally, so when I first um, came back from the convention, I jumped about $1,000 to $2,000. Well, the trip was around 1,000, then all that. And then I came back. I made like a staging room because someone mentioned me to do that. That was a good amount of money. Then I dumped a bunch into the business. So that's why I lost a good amount of my own money. And then usually in my market, December and January are not good months down here for flippers I'm talking to. And I've been doing it for 2 years, and both of the years they've been very dead.
Mm-hmm.
So the sales are average. The sales are definitely the same around. Last month was definitely a little lower. At the end, I was starting to sell a good amount, so that's why I boosted it up. But I would say like the average sales are around 6,000 to 8,000 usually. So the sales are good. It's just like it's also how spread out the sales are. So I could sell a couch today, and then if it's really slow, I won't sell a couch for another 2 weeks. And I'm trying as much as I can to repost it. I would try boosting it, like last month. That's what happened last month. I sold one. I tried doing as much as I could to sell it. I get maybe one message a day. If I was lucky, they would message me. They'd fall off. Eventually, someone would finally buy it. But then at that time, I'm already spending more money on more inventory or whatever. So the money that I just made 2 weeks ago from the original house is gone. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's not in my pocket. So like to make a good amount of money for myself, like I have to actually be like rolling the ball, and it can't stop pretty much until I like
Yeah.
a really good month for me. When I make money is if I am positive before the first week, because then when my expenses come in, I'm not digging into my own stuff because my rent's on the 7th of the month. So if I can sell a couch a week before or two, so I'm like, let's just say 1,500 profit, then when those stuff starts coming in, it digs into that, not my own pocket, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. And I think this is a common frame from which someone who is living on the cash flow of their business to look at their business. It's like, how quickly can I get to a point where I've covered my expenses for the month? Because anything beyond that point is profit for the month. And I think there are pros and cons to this method of thinking, but really what it comes down to is it sounds like you're suffering from variability. You're suffering from volatility in the business, right? It's like sometimes things are going really well and you're stacking up cash, but then there are these slow periods and you end up dipping into your reserve. So it feels like, yes, you're getting ahead when things are good, but then you're right back to where you started when things are slow.
Yeah,
And that's hard if when you have these big up and downs, just like the stock market in recent
yeah,
days, right? When you have this like level of volatility, it's impossible to make plans. And even if the overall amount of money that you're making, the amount of profit that you're making is the same as what it would have been, being able to know that this money is coming in day like week in, week out, uh, gives you a better foundation to be able to grow your business and just have like more peace of mind.
okay, okay. Yeah, it's definitely like I love doing it. I love doing this. I love helping people, give them furniture, all that. It's just like when I first started, I was killing it. I was obviously I was saving up money. I made probably 10,000 like to put in my own bank around like 7 months into it, not even, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, yes, you get more expenses as you grow, which is how a business is. Um, but it's just it just really needs to be kind of consistent or consistent enough where I have enough to spend if it starts dying down. So when it's a month where the whole beginning of the month's very slow and then the last week's good, like it was last month, it's kind of it's definitely a little frustrating.
Yeah. So look, I mean, there's two clear goals here. The first is you want to make more money. That's very
Yeah,
it makes sense for any business. Like, how do you make more money?
yeah,
But the second and perhaps underrated goal here is how do you make your business more consistent? How do you make revenues week in and week out more consistent? Because this is going to help you with cash flow. It's going to help you with planning. It's going to help you with your peace of mind. And the answer to combating volatility in your business is simply a numbers game. So the more volume you do, the more inventory you have, the more, products that you have listed, the more likely it is that it's going to catch someone's attention and they're going to be interested in buying. So if, for example, you're focused on just doing a few flips every month and making as much money as possible on each flip, then you're waiting for these bigger events to happen, which make your cash flow more volatile. Whereas if you switch to a business model that's probably higher volume, lower margin, and you just have a lot more things listed and you always keep it pushing, um, you're less likely to encounter this. And I think there are also some metrics that you want to be keeping an eye on that are top of funnel, just to make sure that the work that you're doing each month is pretty consistent. So
Okay.
let's unpack this. I actually don't know anything about like what your business model is, because once again we don't have the numbers in front of us.
Yep.
But like, you tell me, right? Like, what is your average sale price?
Average, I'd want to say 600 to 700. Average. Could
And
be
what is
lower, could be more.
your average gross profit per flip?
Average gross profit would be, like, you mean how much I would really sell it for, or how much I'm making?
So average gross profit per flip is how much you make after you subtract what you pay for your couch.
Okay. It's around, I'd say around 400 to 500 would be average.
Sorry, can you repeat that? You cut out.
Yeah, sorry. 400 to 500 would be the average.
Got it. Okay, let's say 450. So you're paying about $200 a couch,
And
something
obviously
like
there's
that.
gonna be more. Well, that.
So you're paying about $200 a couch, if I had to guess
Yeah,
then.
that's probably the average. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And then how many flips a month?
Last month, I think I did 11. I did 11, but I picked up like 18. So I was
Mhm.
picking up more than I sold. So
Mhm.
somewhere around there. The most flips I ever did in a month, I think, was 15.
I see. Okay, so
So,
look here, like I was talking about benchmarks, right? And how I talk to a lot of flippers, and I can kind of get a sense of, you know, based on your numbers, what's going wrong in your business. The very first thing that jumps out to me is you are simply not doing enough volume of flips. Uh, and normally there is like an easy culprit to point to, like, I don't know, maybe your average sale price is very high, in which case it makes sense that you're going to flip fewer things. But with an average sale price of around $650, that's about what I would expect, um, for someone doing what you're doing, right? But the number of flips that you're doing each month is quite low.
okay.
So if you're a flipper that is working full time, and that's 40 hours a week, and you're picking up, cleaning, and delivering 40 hours a week for, every week, every month, you should at minimum be doing 20 flips a month. And then on the high end, about 30. And that's a good range to be in. So you're, right off the bat, underperforming by about 50%, just in terms of the overall volume that you're doing. And actually, I don't think this is a problem with views. I don't think this is a problem with views, because I think the number of flips that you're doing each month is probably pretty consistent over the past 4 or 5 months, right? Maybe November
Yeah,
you had a really good month, but every month since then, even before the view issue started, you're probably only doing in a range of 10 to 15 flips per month. And so what that
yeah.
indicates to me is you're not busy enough.
Okay.
You're not busy enough. So, and this is very common. So a very, very common trap that flippers fall into is they let external factors dictate their productivity. A really good example of this is you picked up a bunch of couches, and then your storage unit gets full, and you're like, oh, well, my storage unit is full. I guess I can't pick up any more couches. And there's nothing more to do there. If your storage unit is full, get another storage unit. Keep picking up
Yeah.
couches. Or another really good example is they have everything listed, right? They're like, oh, well, I got everything in my storage unit. I took photos. They're all up on Facebook Marketplace. There's nothing left to do. And then, and then you start chilling, right? You sit on the couch, you start
Yeah.
playing video games, and I get it, especially at your age. So this is not necessarily, it's not a criticism,
Yeah.
but just a different way of looking at it. And let me turn the question back to you. Are you in earnest putting in at least 40 hours a week flipping couches, or are you doing something like 20, 30?
It's lower, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yep.
your problem, Brandon. Like the very, very first thing that you need to do is get busier. Because I know when someone is really hustling, flipping couches, and for them, the stakes are probably more serious, right? So they have to work harder. They're not, 21 years old living at home. They're like 28 years old and they have a family of four. And so
Yeah.
they cannot afford to sit on the couch. And look, if you want to lay back and enjoy life a little bit, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But we have to at least be honest with, why the results in your business aren't what they could be. And it's because you're not putting in the hours. So that's the very first thing I see is you're letting things stop you from working to the full extent of your productivity. And when someone's working really hard flipping couches, they can flip 30 couches on their own. And that's just a matter of putting in the hours. So that's the very, very first thing that I'd be optimizing for is like anytime you think that there's nothing left to do, really question that thought, right? Because I guarantee you, if you went one level deeper, you'd find that there are probably 5 to 10 items, 5 to 10 things that you could be doing that you're not doing.
Yeah.
And if it's not about the like buying and selling or preparation of inventory, then that's like the basic stuff, right? That's like the day-to-day operation of your business. Then there's minimally an opportunity to start working on the things that get you ahead. And that would be
Yeah.
building a brand, putting up a website, starting your social media accounts, following up with customers, asking for referrals, claiming your Google My Business profile, getting reviews, right? Working on your Facebook drop group. And so if you feel like you've hit a cap on the operations of your business, like the day-to-day operations of your business, that's when you start looking for the opportunities to get ahead.
Okay. On that note,
Yeah.
so I actually tried doing it. I don't know if you guys get it personally, but the Wix, when you post on the uh, listing manager, do you guys have to approve that like personally? Because I sent it out and it said it would let me know in a couple days or something. Like the Wix to connect my website so when I post them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me
Because I
check.
did it like 3-4 days ago. I just didn't know if I did it right or anything.
Yeah, so you are successfully integrated. So you sent in the request. I think it was Saturday, and then our guys probably didn't see it until this week. But I just checked the Slack channel, and you are successfully integrated.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're back. We're back. Okay.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so okay, here's the final thing I wanted to mention to you. So it is highly likely that your top of funnel is not performing the way that it used to. I mean, this is a very common complaint that I've heard from a lot of people in the past month or so. Facebook is just not what it used to be. So,
Yeah.
here's some tips. The first thing is you can't control how many views Facebook gives you. You can control how many listings you put up. And that's the first thing I try is just make sure that you're maximizing the potential of your listings. Use the listing manager. This will automate it for you. So, you post on Facebook, OfferUp, Craigslist, also your website, and just have it put on relatively autopilot. And, this is probably not going to solve the problem, but it's going to make it so that you're not spending endless hours trying to put up as many listings as possible because you're doing it manually. At
Yeah.
least you have some automation that is making sure that you're maximizing the use of that channel.
Yeah.
The second thing you should be doing is once a week, make sure you're recording your top of funnel metrics, because right now the fact that you're not getting clicks, etc., this is empirical in that you know how many messages you're getting and whether or not those are good, and that's true. But especially over time, our perception of what is happening can distort, and it's really important to make sure you have a record of what's actually happening. So once a week, maybe it's every Monday, or whatever is a good rest day for you, go in to Facebook and look at your 7-day clicks. So, and if you do go to the Facebook mobile app, you can look up like how many clicks you've received in the past 7-day time frame. Record that, write that
Yep.
down, and then go to OfferUp. Look at your I think it's 30-day views, right?
Yeah.
And it tells you how many views you've received on your listings in the past like 30-day time frame. You can also look at your item analytics on OfferUp, but go there and also take note of that on a regular interval. Craigslist, obviously, you're not getting data from Craigslist, so it is what it is. If you have a website, you have Google Analytics, then you can also get a gauge of how much website traffic you're deriving, and that might be a useful metric to go write down as well. But this is a very simple exercise, and this is going to tell you two things. A, is there actually variance in terms of my performance top of funnel? Is there really a difference week to week in the results that I'm getting? And then if there is a difference, the second thing is if there is a difference in the results that you're getting, now you know that you need to put in more work to at least stabilize what those results are. So for example, you put up 7 listings, and last week that was sufficient to give you 1,000 clicks. But this week, the following week you check in and you only got 700 clicks. Well, try posting more, right? And so if you have an idea of what your baseline is, this also tells you maybe the requisite or additional amount of work that you need to do to get back to baseline. And then over time, your goal is to creep up that baseline. Now, remember, when you're listing on Facebook Marketplace or you're listing on these local marketplaces, this is just one way in which you can get attention or you can get top of funnel views. It's not the only way. It's a
Yeah.
great way because it's fundamentally free. It just takes your time, and attention is the most important commodity in 2025. It's a modern
Mm-hmm.
economy, right? We live in the attention economy. And normally to get people's attention, you have
Yeah.
to pay. Facebook ads, Google search, organic search, TV, radio, whatever. You have to pay for cost per click or cost per 1,000 impressions, right? Those are the standard
Yeah.
marketing metrics. But if you list on these marketplaces, you get to get attention for free, fundamentally. But
Yep.
if your baseline for impressions or clicks are, then you can figure out other strategies, probably paid strategies, to incorporate so that you can move that number up over time. So yeah, I think before you start figuring out like what is the strategy to improve clicks and improve impressions through listings, I think you need to start recording what that data is so you have a better sense of like, okay, if I do X, I get Y result. Because without measurement, you're doing things and you can't actually tell if it's making a difference in your business. So I think that's a very simple, implementable tip for you. Is you need to start writing this down on a weekly basis, and this is actually going to give you the information you need to improve things if you want to.
Okay. All right.
Okay, cool. So hopefully the session was helpful to you, Brandon. I don't think anything I told you is like mind blowing or exciting new information. It's all stuff that you know. But
Yeah.
once again, the advantage that I have in talking to many flippers day in, day out is I just have a perspective that is outside of your business. You're in your business, like you're in your car, you're driving to a delivery right now, right? You're
Yeah.
constantly in the frame of your business. And sometimes talking to someone that has an external perspective, can take the 10 different things that are on your mind and say, get rid of 8 of them, just focus on these 2 things and see if that makes a difference. So
Yeah.
I think very tactically, it's like you need to use more of your time. You need to make sure you're putting in a minimum of 40 hours a week and trying to be as productive in that 40 hours as possible. And if you did that, I would be very surprised if you didn't increase revenues by at least 3-4 thousand in the next month. So anytime you feel like you've hit an obstacle you can't do anymore, really question that thought and see what more you can do. And just that simple adjustment should be able to help you. And if you really can't figure out more things to do, let's have a conversation, right? I'm sure we can shine some light on that. And then the second thing is just getting a little more analytical, making sure that you have a regimen where you're making sure that the things that you're doing top of funnel reach a certain benchmark or reach a certain standard for yourself.
Yeah. Does I was gonna ask one thing. What was I gonna ask? Do you think it would be better? Because like yes, I have some couches at like 900, 1,000, 1,300. Because some of them are very very nice, and I paid more $400 or $500 for them, $600, whatever. Do you think like the lower end ones or like even those should I lower them like $400 or $500 just to like because I've had that to like get them rolling, but like should I like kind of not dirt cheap but like 400 and under for like some couches?
Yeah. So
Like would
as a
that
rule,
help it rolling too?
probably.
Like
So
yeah,
as a rule of thumb, for every couch that you want to sell a month, you should have 1 in inventory. So if you want to sell 20 couches, you should have 20 in inventory per month, right? And it sounds like you're there actually. It sounds like you have around 20 couches in inventory, but
I yeah yeah
you're just not selling at the rate that you need to. So that's actually one thing I would optimize for, right? Like first of all, if you use the Ivy Flip sales tracker, one of the metrics that we give you is called turnover rate. And as benchmarks, I would say if you're turning over a couch within a week, that's great. If it's turning over within 2 weeks, that's good. If it's turning over within 3 weeks, that's okay. And then within 4 weeks, that's bad, right? Like just rule of thumb, right?
yeah
If so, there's a certain velocity at which you need inventory flowing through your business, and like there, it's not just there. It's not just the opportunity cost of having inventory that's stale um, sitting in your inventory, it's lost learning opportunity. And every single time you bring in a couch into your business and you turn around, you flip it and you sell it, you learn a little bit more about your market, your consumer, the kind of products that they want. And it's just like dead weight and dead energy to be keeping around. And so I think if inventory is sitting for more than a week, take action, right? Be assertive, like relist it, maybe mark down the price a little bit. And it sucks if you thought you could make $600 on a couch, you end up selling it for 400, but it's still 400 profit, and you keep things moving. The only exception to this rule is if you really have like a gem of a couch, like we're talking like a leather Chesterfield, maybe like a Restoration Hardware. The thing retails for 12,000, and like you can sell that for 4 or 5 thousand, right? Like those you may want to like because it's worth it. There's enough margin there that you could sit on it for a month or two, and that kind of couch does depend. Selling that kind of couch does depend on finding the right buyer who understands the value of that couch. But if you're talking about your average run of the mill, like I don't know, 4-piece modular fabric sectional, right? I don't think there's an incentive to really hold out for the best price there. And so, what I tell people is the very first thing or metric that you optimize for in your business is volume.
mm-hmm.
First, you focus on getting busy enough, getting to like just 20 minimum flips a month, and then maximum, let's say not maximum, but like people can flip 30, even 40 couches on their own, maybe with a little bit of help, right? But that should be the floor. And before you start optimizing for things like gross profit per flip or net profit per flip, focus on optimizing for volume and probably adjacent to that turnover. You need
Okay.
products flowing through your business. If they're not moving, cut the price and keep it pushing.
Okay. And then my last thing is Do you have anyone in your community that does like offer up business? Have you heard of that?
Yes.
That whole like, how is that? Because Levi, one of the guys in here in the group, he told me to do it. He didn't do it personally, but he was like, because he was trying to explain to me the whole financial thing, since I'm not going to an actual warehouse with a address to do it online, and he said to do like the offer up business. It's like $500 a month. And I was like, well, like he doesn't do it, so I was like, all right, well, I want to at least ask someone who knows it or does it, is it actually worth it?
Yeah. So I would say your mileage will vary. Uh, you know, I think OfferUp is not Facebook Marketplace. It tends to have better representation in certain markets and worse representation in other markets. I also, Levi, as far as I know, has an OfferUp for business account, if not two. So in terms of like the number one
I
and number
think
two,
I think it was a website. It was one of the two. But I asked him about it, and he said that he mainly does OfferUp. That's what he told me.
yeah, I'm pretty sure he has an
So,
OfferUp for business account. He doesn't have a website. He's not so keen on website, but he is super keen on OfferUp. So the number one user of Listing Manager are the AZ Couch Depot guys, and
mm,
they're doing like $150,000 a month, and they're out in Phoenix, Arizona, right? And they tell me 50% of their business comes from OfferUp. And the reason they're number one users of Listing Manager is they're constantly, every 2-3 days, refreshing like 30 listings on OfferUp. Levi is the same thing. Like Levi comes in day in, like pretty frequently every 2-3 days, and is putting up like 30-40 listings on OfferUp. And the thing with OfferUp is the algorithm works differently from Facebook because they have a pay for post model. So you
mm,
get like 25 free, and then anything above that 25, you pay $1 per post for. And then to get like beyond a certain volume, they require that you sign up for the OfferUp for business account. But if you look at your item analytics when you're posting on OfferUp, you'll see that the views go up sharply in like the first day or two, and then they slowly taper off. What that means is you're getting most of your views in the initial 48-hour period after you're posting something, and then it starts to sink. And there's really nothing you can do about that except, and the way their algorithm works, they actually don't penalize you for posting a duplicate listing, right? So
mm,
Facebook does, like if you keep posting the same thing over and over, don't change the image, title, description, like Facebook's probably going to shadow ban you or ban you for that. I don't know. But they penalize you for
yeah.
that. But OfferUp does not. And that's because they have a business model that wants you to post more. So they don't really care what you post as long as it's like relatively, not scammy or spammy. So, and then,
Would you say it's worth it then? Like the $500 a month?
so first, I've heard of plans ranging from like 200 to 500. So I
Oh,
don't
they told me the cheapest one was 500.
I
That's
don't
what
think.
that's what OfferUp told me. I was on the phone with them.
Yeah, and I think their pricing has changed over time, and I've
Okay.
seen, like landing pages with their pricing on it where it's like 200 or 300. I also believe if you get a rep on the phone, you can negotiate with them. And so I don't think it's fixed that you have to pay 500. I think they have different tiers and they have different pricing, different incentives over time. And you're dealing with a salesperson who wants to make quota, so you can negotiate. So I'd keep that in the back of your mind. I can't tell you if it's worth it for you in your market. What I'd say is it's probably
Okay.
worth it to try.
Okay.
And then I would look, and I know that they have a 30-day cancellation clause. So that's something to keep in mind, that if you want to back out, you got to do it 30 days in advance. And some people have
Okay.
gotten hit with that. And look, I know some like the AZ Couch Depot guys, Levi, they do quite well on OfferUp. Most of their business comes from OfferUp, but I know other people who have tried it and they just didn't get the result, or they got like kind of middling results and they ended up pulling the plug. But um, I think you know you have to try it for yourself, and you have to really utilize the full extent of the membership too. So if you get 200 posts a month as part of the subscription, make sure you're using all 200 of those posts.
Hmm.
Yeah,
All right. Well, that was all that I had. So, and I'm actually here at the delivery. So that was
cool.
perfect timing.
All right, amazing.
So
All right, thanks for booking the call.
awesome.
Always a pleasure.